What's up, geeks and everyone else? Welcome to another episode on the Geek Mythology podcast, brought to you by my good friend Sal.
Hi, I'm Seth here, also known as Sugi on YouTube.
That was a very weird noise that you just made. Anyway, we've got a special episode ready for you guys, and this episode will be all about Gravity Falls and Star vs. the Forces of Evil, and basically Disney shows that we've watched, because we've been watching Disney animated series recently, and Gravity Falls is like the big one that we've seen recently. And what do you think about Gravity Falls?
Yes, very good. I'm disappointed I did not see it earlier.
Right? Yeah. When did it come out? It came out like many years ago.
2012 to 2014.
Jeez.
And
Jeez.
Star vs. the Forces of Evil is what I would call its replacement, basically.
Oh,
Sort of.
really? You call it the replacement?
Not replacement, but like, if you look at those two shows, they're sort of like a little bit similar in ways. Sort of.
Yeah, I mean...
And that's why I would say, like, Star is like the successor to Gravity Falls.
Yeah. I think
not that it replaced Gravity Falls, but it's definitely Gravity Falls' successor.
Yeah, I think in terms of popularity, genre-wise, it's slightly different, I'd say. But yeah, they're quite similar in other ways as well.
Star is much more focused on fantasy than mystery.
Yes, and I know I say this a lot. Well, to you at least. My opinion is that Star is a bit more immature than...
Definitely.
I think it's just a bit more crazy and a bit more like hype. A bit more like over the top compared to Gravity Falls.
The funny thing is, I just realized once again, it's the girl who is the immature one again in both shows.
That's true. But
the normal consensus of real life is that girls are more mature than guys.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that's just something that came into my mind.
There was this, like, I do remember there's this one episode of Gravity Falls where Mabel says something like, "I'm more mature than you," or like, girls mature faster than boys for some reason. I don't remember the context. I just remember
that, like, maybe in terms of emotions?
I think so.
But Seth, you forgot something. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you forgot something.
Yes. We almost got carried away. I'm forgetting the joke. So, what do you call a ghost's true love?
Skeleton.
Oh wow. A ghost's true love is its ghoul friend, like a ghoul, like.
Oh, you're paining me. Please, no, please stop. You're actually paining me. I'm kidding. No, just to say something quick, Seth. Jay from Popcorn Culture, I'm already doing a better job as a co-host than you, and I've been here for 10 episodes or 8 episodes. I'm sorry.
Okay.
It's Jay's job to remind Ben of the jokes.
He never does. At least you haven't been demoted down to special guest. You are like recognized co-host on this show. Context for viewers.
Arguably, specialist guest is
better.
Might be a promotion than a demotion.
But context for the listeners who don't know what popcorn culture is. Popcorn culture is this podcast that we're heavily inspired by, and they have this like running joke where one of the co-hosts in inverted speech marks is like not a co-host. They're just a special guest, basically.
But he's also not a co-host, but he's the other host.
The other, yeah. Anyway,
he has many roles.
Anyway, seeing as you're a recognized co-host on this show, do you want to bring up Gravity Falls and what you thought about it, I guess?
Okay, so essentially, Gravity Falls is a show which obviously I had seen about for years, because I did kind of get into cartoons after Gravity Falls stopped airing, but sort of something that I've always seen about. And so I got Disney Plus, you got Disney Plus, because I got Disney Plus. So we decided, let's watch.
Yes.
Also, because literally a week before I got Disney Plus, a new person in our school was like, try Gravity Falls. And I was like,
Yeah,
maybe I
yeah.
will.
That is why I watched it. There was this new person in our form in our class. She recommended Gravity Falls, and I'm like,
Yeah.
well, seeing as I have nothing else to do, and yeah, I'll watch it. So yeah,
Yeah, so we both watched Gravity Falls. You watched it during school times, so you kind of
I
you had more
watched.
time to
Yeah,
ingest it.
yeah. I thing is, you binged watched it like over the past week. I'd say
Yeah. I slowed down for
yeah,
the last 4 episodes to sort of watch it
yeah,
slowly.
yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I realized I kind of got near the end of season 2 without realizing. Because
Yeah,
I watched
yeah.
season 1, I finished season 1, but then season 2 went by so much faster because I watched like 10 episodes in a day.
Jeez,
And
like,
then
wow.
I got to episode 18, which is just before the finale
Mm-hmm.
4 episodes, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want summer to end. I don't want the summer
You
to
know
end.
what? When I finished watching Gravity Falls, it was during school time, right? I was watching Gravity Falls during school time, and at the end of the show, I was like, I don't want summer to end, even though summer for me had already ended and I was already at
Yeah,
school. I
it's
was
because like
like taken back
for
to
me,
summer.
yeah,
Yeah.
for me it was mainly because I knew some of the things they say during the final scene, like summer's over, we all have to grow up. So that I didn't realize Mabel says that. I thought Wendy said that for some reason,
Mm.
but Mabel said that, and I was like, I don't want to hear that line yet. I don't want to
You
hear
know
that
what?
line yet.
I strangely relate a lot to Mabel and especially Mabel. She does not want to grow up. Like she just wants to stay having summer
Hey,
forever
yeah.
basically. And I have
Just
something
to say
similar.
one thing
Yeah.
about growing up, right? Just a quick thing. Like growing up, you don't want to do it because like there's the whole thing about being a kid. Even like as a teenager, you're still a kid in a
Yeah.
way. So like, because you're not adulting yet, you're not paying taxes, you're not having a job, right?
Yeah. You don't have all
So
those
like
worries.
you don't want to go into that world. You want to stay with your friends if you have friends. I'm sorry if you don't. I'll be your friend. But you want to stay with everyone. You want to stay with your friends,
Yeah.
and of course that's even harder for Mabel because like she lives in California.
Mhm.
She's not across the country. I don't think she's down from Gravity Falls. She's a few
Yeah.
miles from Gravity Falls at
Yeah.
least. So like she's leaving her friends, but like the advantage to growing up is you can have your own income.
Yep.
That's
I
the
know
whole
there's
thing. Because
that part of me wants to be, wants the money, wants the like freedom to do what you want, I guess. But then the other part of me is like I don't want to grow up because in a way it's more free to be a child. Sure, you might have parents and teachers telling you what to do, but you're not like constrained by taxes and like bills to pay and
especially for me. Well, I'm sorry, I'm kind of stumbling on my words, but especially for me, I am looking for some part-time jobs because of the
yeah,
hobbies that I have picked up. So like
yeah,
Beyblade particularly is quite, you have to buy stuff. So like I'm already looking for like a part-time job to have. So I'm kind of like, but
mm,
I'm not doing school at the same. So I'm kind of like, I want to grow up to have my own income so I could like act on some things, but
yeah,
also this is nice. But also, just quickly, what if you just don't grow? You can grow up, you can do adulting, but you don't have to grow up.
like physically grow up
I
or
mean, like you'll
just
physically grow up, obviously, but you can still be a kid at heart. That's what
yeah,
people say.
yeah,
Honestly, that's what a bunch of like adult nerds say. Like, we might be adults, but we're not.
yeah,
Sort of stuff.
yeah.
But yeah,
I get
yeah.
that.
Mabel. It's especially hard for Mabel because she had the shock that her brother, she might lose her brother as well during her high school
Mm.
years. So it was really hard
Thing
for
is,
her. But
like,
like, sort of,
I really envy their summer. They
yeah,
have this.
do things.
They do things. They have these adventures. But at the same time, when watching it, I feel like I'm with them because when the show ended,
Yeah.
I had the same feeling. So basically, at the end of summer, at the end of the summer holidays, I have this feeling of like longing that summer was longer and that I just don't want to go back to school.
Yeah, for me, I'd say that for what you just said there, right?
Yeah.
there's been jokes about like, oh, Ash becomes Pokemon Master. I don't know, Naruto becomes Hokage, or like you watch these characters do it, right?
Hmm.
Like they're all gonna do this, and I'm gonna sit here and watch them do it.
Yeah,
That sort of
yeah.
thing. But yeah, well, before we get to like the end of the show, obviously, what's your like overall thoughts about how the show was?
You know what? It took me on a journey. It For some reason I found it nostalgic, even though I don't relate. Well, I do relate. I feel like I was related. I know I'm messing up my words here. I feel like I related to the characters, even though what I've done in my life is completely different to what they're doing in their
Yeah.
life. Like they're Americans. They've got like a 3 month summer holiday. They can do much more, much more. They
Oh
went on this
yeah.
adventure in the countryside. My summers are very different, but weirdly, I
Yeah.
feel like I can relate to them, even though we've had totally different
Yeah.
experiences.
This is probably why I like talking about things with like you and the others, because like for me, I normally don't think about stuff like that. I normally just kind of watch stuff and consume them.
Yeah, I
And I
mean,
like
yeah.
them, right? I like the characters, but I never think too much about it. Like once it's over, I'm just like, oh god, something's wrong here. It's over,
You know
and,
what?
and I like to think back about them, but I don't think I ever, you know what I mean? I don't have that sort of thing with
Yeah.
me, which is just
I'd say,
it's kind of something I'm
yeah.
missing. But I guess it also helps me like not have bad opinions, and I kind of just enjoy everything, I suppose.
I mean,
Yeah,
I'd
but
say that I'm the only thing that like links me to Dipper is the fact that I Dipper is very smart, and I'm thing is Dipper's 12. He probably knows more than me, but like, so he probably I feel like he knows more than me, even though he's 12. He's very smart, and his
yeah.
sister isn't into all this, and I find myself in a similar dynamic with my sister.
Oh,
Like,
right, right.
I'd there'd be something interesting, and I'd like maybe explain the science or whatever behind it, and then she'll be like, "I'm not interested. It's just cool. Like, please stop
I
talking
mean,
about science."
yeah, like the if I were to talk about my sister, right?
Yeah.
She is very smart. She's like doing engineering for uni
Oh
and such,
wow.
right?
What's she
And
doing? Like, what is it? Like general engineering or?
I feel like it's electrical
Oh
engineering
right.
or like
Okay.
sort of lights and stuff. I
Yeah.
sort of like that sort of engineering. But the fact is, like, I sort of like she's older than me, so
Mhm.
like my parents are sort of like, oh, like your sister got this, you got to like do this,
Yeah.
and like it'll be better.
Expectations.
Of
Yeah.
course, I'm not taking the same subject. She went full science, further maths.
Oh
She
right.
went full maths, further maths, physics sort of choices. I've gone like half and half,
Yeah.
obviously, with like physics, maths, English, geography. But also, like, it's the sort of thing like, also, you know me, I'm very bad with doing work and
Mm.
such. And even this half term over the last week, now, I haven't done much, right?
You
Like,
know what? It's the same for me.
she's also more into like Tamil stuff and like that sort
Mm.
of side of she's more into our culture,
Yeah,
while I
and
am more into this
like
stuff.
Western, I'd say. Like,
Well, anime is not Western, but
oh,
sort of
true. Yeah, but like,
not like Tamil films, Bollywood stuff like that, right?
yeah.
While some other kids, like some people in our school, they're like into like football and stuff, but they still like stuff like those sort of films. Well, I'm sort of not part of that. So that sort of I guess there's sort of a disconnect between me and my family sometimes, I'd
That's
say.
interesting. Would you say that your family exposed you a lot to your culture?
Oh yeah,
Tamil,
no, I
really?
watched a bunch of Tamil
Yeah.
TV when I was
Because
younger.
it's different for me because I wasn't like brought up. I wasn't even like brought up with the language. I can't speak much of my.
Uh,
So like my parents would
yeah,
always
no,
talk
like
English to me, so I can
yeah,
only speak English
like for me,
confidently.
I went to Tamil school. I
Yeah.
went to the temple somewhat often when I was younger, but as soon as I got a computer, obviously, you all know what happened with me not having a
Basically.
TV and a computer and such. But like, yeah, I kind of sometimes have it because I would say this to my friends. I don't talk to my family much, so I guess that's a reason why I sometimes like when characters get along so well because that's kind of cool to me. Like stuff fairy tales all about these people who are not related by blood, but they're still a family.
Yeah. Oh
Like
yeah. Like in
like
Star, like she's a what is she like a? a guest
exchange
exchange
student.
student, and then she literally. I haven't finished the show. I'm only like halfway through
Yeah.
season 2, but she is essentially living in the household of the Diaz family. Marco Diaz is this kid in her class,
Yeah.
and she's essentially like in their family. Do you
Yeah.
know that I do? They basically like get together, right?
Yeah.
I yeah. I've seen it on like the internet. I can't escape the shipping. Uh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So sorry for the tangent about family and me having a sort of disconnect from them, but that's true. Like I'd say I don't talk to my family as much as a normal
Yeah,
person probably does.
but it is
So like
interesting to
that's a
see
sort
how
of thing.
like how we grew
So
up, because
yeah.
I wasn't like I was
So
exposed to a little bit of like Filipino like shows, but like
yeah.
I made in my whole life I can only remember watching 3. That's
Like
not much.
I know like Tamil shows and Tamil films, but back to Gravity Falls.
Yeah.
We've talked about like the main two characters and like all the main characters have great. So I love their bonds with each other and such, right?
The friendship is.
Yeah, like Zeus and Wendy are just buds. They're just like, ah, yeah, work buds, you know.
But like they're very different people. Like
I love Zeus,
Wendy is this
honestly.
like extroverted like girl who hangs out, right?
Yeah,
And hangs out with like lots of boys and stuff. Zeus is like this like
man
introverted
child,
guy, man child, who like stays at
man
home,
child.
um,
Yeah,
in his mum's house watching anime,
grandma's house,
grandma's
grandma's house.
house, yeah, watching anime and
Yeah,
stuff. But like
yeah.
they're like two different on the okay. So let's have a spectrum of like socialness.
You mean
Zeus
like
is on one
like
end.
you mean like what we already do in school? We have I kind of call it a spectrum in terms of people, right?
Right.
Like still everybody in our year, I get on with pretty much everyone in my year. Nobody hates me, I think.
Yeah, same.
But sort of like yeah,
Yeah.
in terms of spectrum, Wendy and Zeus are definitely sort of on opposite
Yeah.
sides.
Wendy's like
Almost. Yeah.
definitely on the popular side. Zeus is on like the
Oh, I wouldn't call her popular in terms of high school.
I
Do you
don't
not
know.
remember when Mabel went to the school gym hall?
Yeah,
Like
I remember that.
actually, to be fair, I don't know what American high schools are like, but like everybody made fun of her surname when the
What's her
teacher tried to
surname?
call it
It's like
Colderoy.
oh, I don't. Why is it funny?
But yeah, Wendy's definitely like a normal, outgoing teenager who
Yeah,
does dumb
I'd
stuff.
say
Eh,
she's like on the more extroverted side of the spectrum.
yes,
Maybe not the most, but she's
yeah.
on
But
that side.
Zeus is sort of like
He's
well, yeah,
he's
he
I'd say
lives
he's
with
all the
his
way at the
grandma.
end. He's like an adult and he
Yeah,
still lives with his grandma.
yeah.
Um
Which is anime.
yeah. Yeah.
He works for this shop that barely anyone cares about.
Mm.
Essentially,
How do they make
uh,
money? The shop, the mystery
tourist trap.
shack. Yeah, I
Tourist
guess.
trap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And all the scams and stuff.
It is funny when you think about the fact that like Gravity Falls isn't on many maps, but they still get tourists.
I know, right? Like
But anyway, so I'm
no,
saying,
I feel like Gravity Falls
yeah,
is the sort of town that like is like a small town like on the highway, and people
yeah,
would just go there to stop over. Maybe they're on their way to Canada or something. Um,
yeah.
and Gravity
But
Falls is like on the way. Yeah,
would I would like to talk about Stan because like Stan's interesting, sort of, right?
yeah.
Like,
He is the
okay,
yeah,
to Wendy, he's sort of a normal boss, right? Wendy does the cashier and stuff,
yeah.
but like, he still likes Wendy, loves Wendy, because like he loves both Wendy and Zeus, sort of
Mhm.
like his own children almost. And to Zeus, Stan is literally a father figure,
Yep, yep.
I would say,
Not a very
you
good
know.
father figure, I'd say. Seeing as Stan is like,
But still a father figure
yeah.
nonetheless. Like he might not necessarily be a good one. He might have not taught Zeus the greatest stuff, but he still loves all four of them, being
Mhm.
Mabel, Dipper, Wendy, and Zeus. You know, they're the gang.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Like, I was gonna bring up like growing up. If Stan was your father, what sort of child would you grow up to be? Like, oh no.
Okay, so
Uh,
possibilities, right?
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
Possibilities first, you'd probably hate Stan, right?
Mm,
As his
mm,
child, maybe, right?
maybe. Yeah,
Maybe. Second,
maybe. Yeah.
you just go like, "Yo, Dad, you wanna trick some more tourists today?" You just join in with it.
I think like I think it will depend on who you are. If you're like a Mabel type of person, Stan
Yeah,
Stan is like, I think you'd get along because they're both quite, they don't have responsibilities, both of them. Like, Stan wouldn't teach his children
yeah, no,
to be responsible. Um, if you were like
yeah, no.
Dipper, who's like a rule, I'd say Dipper's the type of person to follow the rules all the time, a bit like Marco
But he
from
still
Star.
goes off the hook
Yeah.
as well.
The thing is, he only goes off the hook if it's like to do with Wendy or something. I'd say,
No.
or like if he's like chasing up his mystery and he gets really fixated with the mystery that he's chasing up.
Still, yeah,
Yeah,
no, like Stan sort of had like a sad life as well,
yeah,
you
he
know.
had he no, oh no, he's got a really sad childhood.
Did we put a spoiler warning in here?
Yeah,
We
spoiler
should have
warning.
probably said spoilers.
We
Yeah,
haven't actually
definitely
talked
spoiler warning.
much about spoilers yet,
Yeah,
but basically we will be talking
we
about
might
spoilers.
definitely. But
But
yeah,
anyway,
Stan got kicked out just before he graduated high school.
okay,
Uh,
what's interesting is how you know how I mentioned how Dipper and Mabel had this like dynamic, which is similar to me and my sister,
yeah.
where like Dipper was always like outshining um Mabel might have felt
But
a little
you say that it's not like they
jealous.
have a negative
No,
relationship. They're still like
yeah.
amazingly close together.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a good thing. But with Stan and his brother Stanford, we're gonna call him Ford, Stan and Ford. Um, they're kind of like they have the similar like situation, but the relationship went downwards. So
Yeah.
Ford is the smart guy, Stan isn't the smart guy, and instead of like somehow getting along, they actually become enemies. They don't like each other a lot.
Sort of. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's sort of the neglect, right? Sort of.
But
I,
I think it's mainly to do with the parents. I think if their parents focused on Stanford a lot, they didn't like care about Stan. Um, so I think that's why there's this like jealousy. But
yeah.
with Mabel and Dipper, I don't, I think their parents are much better. And
Probably.
Grunkle
Yeah.
Stan would probably favor Mabel more. Um, so there isn't this like what would you call it, like jealousy for the smarter kid,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Their
Growing up.
relationship is interesting. There was another character dynamic that we could discuss quickly,
Who?
right? Dipper and Wendy. Did you like how they handled that?
I liked it.
Yeah.
Like,
I didn't expect them to handle it so soon, right? So soon into like season two. Episode two is when they sort of addressed it, right?
yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
but
yeah,
I do love like Wendy's relationship with Dipper is great because like instead, of course, Dipper still has some sort of feelings towards Wendy, obviously, right?
mm-hmm.
Wendy sort of becomes a big sister,
Yeah,
essentially,
yeah, and
as
also
well.
like I don't think it'd work out if they were to
Yeah,
get together because
I mean, yeah.
Dipper's
Like
12.
the thing is, like age gaps matter a lot more in early teens than they do in your 20s.
Yeah,
You know,
I think it's
no,
because like teenagers grow up so fast. There's
because
a
like
big
okay,
difference
if
in
you think about it, yeah,
maturity.
yeah. In terms of like between a 12-year-old and a 16-year-old, there's a big difference. Between a 22-year-old and a 26-year-old,
The
not much
difference isn't as
difference.
much. Yeah,
Yeah, because there's a lot more things in terms of growing up and maturity between your teens than in your older ages. So that's why like age gaps matter a lot more when you're younger than when you're like 20s and
yeah,
30s, right?
and
But
also
the fact is,
there's also the social dynamic between Wendy and her friends. If she went out with Dipper, like she's gonna get bullied or made fun of,
yeah,
like for being
Yeah.
a, you know.
The point is, Gravity Falls handled it really well, really, in my
Yeah,
opinion. They didn't try and make it cringy and push it, right? In fact, it wasn't even a huge plot point
yeah.
either.
Um,
It was a small plot point,
and they
sort of
handled it
thing.
very well in the sense that they were the message I'd say is it's not gonna work out. You know, like as much as you fantasize about Wendy, it's not gonna work out. And at the end of the day,
But
yeah,
that doesn't mean you still can't be friends.
no,
Okay,
yeah,
I
they can,
assume you're gonna
yeah.
go for that. I don't know what you're gonna go for.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah,
If you're, it's a bit of a sad situation where you ask someone out and then that just ruins the friendship because you had an idea.
yeah. I think because I think the age gap also made the understanding a lot easier as
Mm,
well. Because
mm.
say they were the same age, Dipper might have become depressed like Robbie did, right? Um,
Robbie is so clingy and so like,
I, I,
just get
I don't
over,
think
just go.
I don't think we can feasibly talk about him today. But point is
Yeah,
the fact that the age gap helped them stay friends,
not gonna
really,
lie.
as well.
Robbie was more mature. Like, just get over it with it. Dipper is 12. He got over with it. Robbie, like, come on.
Yeah. But the fact is, I still love the moment at the end where they just switched hats, and I was like, "Oh, Wendy, you are the greatest friend somebody could ever have."
Mm,
Because like Wendy is that sort of doing dumb stuff teenager, but she still knows.
yeah, she's yeah,
She knows sort of stuff. Like she like even after Dipper, after that, she didn't take it awkwardly, right? She just went along with it. She went past it, and they were still friends. You know.
she broke. I wouldn't say it's a breakup, but it's more like a here's the truth. And she like told
She handled.
Dipper,
She was mature about it.
yeah, she's very mature about it. Yeah. But I do think the dumb
June.
stuff she does is again a peer pressure thing. I think that's the
Oh
sort of
God,
thing
bless
that
her.
group of friends would do.
You
Like
you gotta admit the one
break
we
into the
feel most so
supermarket. Yeah,
no.
okay.
Thompson. I feel I don't feel bad for him because he sort of wants it. He wants to be around them, right?
Thing is,
But he
yeah.
also
Mhm.
lets them do stuff that maybe you should Thompson
No,
stand up for yourself a
he
bit.
I think he lets them make fun out of him because that's what
Yeah,
that's the banter, that's the jokes in
yeah.
that friend group. And he
Because
likes it, I guess.
you saw during the episode where Mabel was messing with like Robbie's love life. The
Mhm.
way Thompson took it when the friend group just went apart, right?
Yeah.
The way I felt so bad for Thompson because obviously
You know what?
Thompson is
Yeah.
clearly that kid who doesn't have many friends, and
Yeah.
that's the only
And
people
he
who
value
hang out with
yeah.
him.
And he'd value the friends that he does have a lot. So that when he
Yeah,
loses them,
so
it's like maybe it's
yeah,
this
but
like maybe he doesn't want to get maybe he doesn't want to be made fun out of, but because these are the only friends he has, he kind of has no choice. Because if
uh, okay.
he's like scared of, like, I don't know, people might call him a
Shit.
safe guy,
Yeah,
or like
but
just tease
yeah,
him
sec.
for not being cool, you know.
So moving on from like the characters themselves and their dynamics and relationships, because I do genuinely want to discuss the final scene. Do you want to talk about the
Yeah,
final arc, the
okay.
finale episodes,
Yes.
and the sort of lead up to it? I suppose.
So, the lead up to this like final arc is they were building up clues, right? There were clues dotted around
Yeah.
the whole show, and you were like,
Especially from when Ford came in,
yeah,
right? That's
but
when it
also
really picked
you were
up.
looking at all the cryptic clues in the credits and stuff.
I was okay.
You were
I
like,
noticed them. I mainly watched those because I genuinely like to watch the credit scenes that
yeah,
happens. You know those little things, and I just noticed that. I never went to look them up. I might look them up later, right, or now.
mm-hmm,
But sometimes you even sent me something on Instagram where some of them was actually sort of genuine clues instead of random
like random
phrases.
hieroglyphics, yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, so there were these clues that and I think the time baby thing, the time traveling thing, was like foreshadowing the final arc, which involved like time travel to an extent. There were like lots of other things that were like foreshadowing, I guess. Trying to think of examples. Uh, Sal, are you here?
Yeah. I'm just
All
not
right.
talking. I'm just letting you talk.
Yeah, I can't think of any examples, but anyway, yeah, they were building
Yeah.
up to this finale. The big foreshadowing is introducing Bill Cipher to be this bad guy, and yeah, he was the
Yeah.
big bad guy.
He constantly kept on saying like, oh God, I can't let you interfere here. I can't let you mess up my big
Oh,
plan.
there's a big one which I remember. It was like in one of the first episodes. It was Grunkle Stan opening up the vending machine, but like early on
Yeah,
in the
that's
show,
literally from the first episode.
yeah, early
From the
early
first
on,
episode
you
that
can't,
happened.
you would never know why, but it makes sense for the final arc. There was this portal that he opened up, and his brother came through the portal, um, and basically Bill Cipher, this triangle dude, he looks like the Illuminati, is planning to take over the world, and they
Yeah,
stop it.
yeah. Yeah. Um,
Oh,
I guess
yeah.
no. Carry on, carry on.
I was gonna bring up this fan theory headcanon sort of thing. So this portal goes to different dimensions, right? Do you think Gravity Falls is part of the Earth dimension in Star versus Forces of Evil? And because the Star versus the Forces of Evil like has this concept of like interdimensional
Oh.
worlds with the wand, and magic and all
So
that.
you think they're the same universe?
I mean, there are like Easter eggs, I think. Um, so you could connect them if you want to. Would you
I
consider that in your
suppose.
head
Yeah,
canon?
yeah.
I'd probably consider it as head in my head canon.
Of course, I obviously know a lot more
About Star.
about the whole dimensions things.
Yeah,
I
I don't
can't
know
say
much.
too much, right?
Yes,
But
we need to like for my sake at least, like avoid Star versus the Forces of Evil, I guess. Even though I think it's a
yeah.
great show and I'd love to talk about it, but plot wise, I'd rather not get spoiled.
Oh, yeah, no. I sorry, just talk about the do you know the
The clues,
crypto stuff?
yeah,
The
the
clues.
cryptic
They're
clues,
on the wiki, on the fandom wiki,
yeah.
right? They do have like every single one here.
Wow.
And also something interesting, just a quick note that we can maybe, which might encourage us to watch yet another Disney show, right? It's a show called Amphibia, which apparently has a crossover episode.
Oh, with Gravity
So
Falls.
maybe Amphibia is next. Maybe we'll talk about that in the future.
Yeah, once you've seen it.
Yeah, but sorry, I completely lost. Oh yeah, headcanon interdimensional stuff. Okay, right. Okay. So, sort of to cut away from that quick, just to
Yeah.
sort of talk about do you want to just talk about the final 4 episodes?
Okay. Yeah. What do you
Yeah,
think about it?
the probably most important episodes in Gravity Falls.
Yeah, I'd say it's one of
Yeah,
the best finales for an animated show. I'd say
yeah.
maybe like almost as high as the Avatar final arc.
Oh yeah, that also had a 4 episode thing, didn't
I'd
it?
say it's better than the Korra final arc. I know you
I
haven't seen
haven't seen the
Korra.
final, but the fact is,
Yeah.
I feel like compared to Avatar, Gravity Falls just has a lot more in it in terms of the final arc.
Mm-hmm.
It's like these 4 episodes packed in like a rescue mission, another rescue mission, another rescue mission, then the bam final blow.
Thing is with Avatar, because there was less
Yeah,
happening, they could focus a lot more on the detail. And
yeah,
I think there were only like 3 major battles. There was the battle for Ba Sing Se with Iroh and the White Lotus leading that. There was Zuko and Katara versus Azula, and then there was the big Aang versus Firelord or Ozai. That was like
yeah.
the only 3 things that were happening. But with Gravity Falls, yes, you're gonna have the final battle, but in order to have the final battle, you need to break out Mabel because she's in prison. Um, and yeah, that was like the first two episodes of the final arc.
Third episode was them going to rescue their uncle who knows the weakness.
Oh, yeah. But what was funny was that you know how they made that like the surviving like residents of Gravity Falls made this like Mystery Shack mech sort of thing, and I found it funny the way they built it. And Seuss was like, "I watched this anime. Can we add this superpower thing from the anime that I watched?"
Making a mech itself feels like an anime anyway.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So that loved. I really liked it.
Yeah.
But I'd say
it's just great because like the first episode is it's literally just Mabel and Dipper, and that's sort of what makes it good because it's sort of that's the sort of thing like there's that's sort of you realize there is no awkwardness between them. They're like great friends, they're best friends,
they're really,
and they just do it.
Yeah, and then you see the opposite with Stan and Grunkle Stan and Great Uncle Ford, where they fight each other. Like
they're still fighting.
They have the chance to work together and stop Bill Cipher, but they can't get past their differences, and they end up fighting each other, and that almost cost them their lives. It's lucky.
Cost Dipper and Maple's lives.
It's lucky that they had that mind eraser thing, thingy.
Yeah.
I found a plot hole though for the end.
What?
So you know how the whole premise of killing Bill Cipher was to get him to go inside his mind to find the equation or something. There was like this equation to break out into and ruin the whole dimension.
It wasn't really an equation, it was more of a ritual.
Or something like that. Basically a piece of information that Uncle Ford had and Bill Cipher wanted it. And Uncle Ford would not say. But also he would not let him into his mind. But if he was willing to let Bill Cipher into his mind, surely he would also be willing just to say it. And if I was Bill Cipher, I'd rather have Uncle Ford say it rather than me going into his mind. If that makes sense. Because going into his mind is a risk. Like, for example, using the mind eraser when you're inside it. Like, if he's willing to open the door and say, "Come and get the information," isn't that surely the same as, "I'll give you the information"?
I kind of lost you somewhere during that.
I'm not explaining it very well.
Yeah, but do you know something I realized from like shows, right? Quite a lot of shows, like sort of. Avatar didn't have this so much. Avatar just kind of had like one big final fight, right?
Yeah.
Like some other shows, it's sort of something I feel like that I've seen a lot, but I can't immediately think of examples. It's probably more in Western shows than not.
Okay.
But sort of stuff where like there are multiple methods during like the finales that are being used to try and defeat someone, right?
Mm-hmm.
And defeat the villain, but then in the end, it's not per se underwhelming. But it sort of just happens the way they defeat their villain, right?
Yeah.
It's not the fact is like it's not some huge big fight between hero and villain. It's not like a huge elaborate plan. It's sort of everything's lost. This is the only thing we can do.
Yeah,
so that's
true.
You see that quite a bit. I really wanted to know what would have happened with the circle thing, but
yeah.
That was interesting. It was like what I want to know is why was it specifically these people, right? Like people have probably delved into that online and stuff. Why was it this specific 10 or whatever many people there were, right?
Yeah, why did the ritual like choose these like people to that's another topic.
What does that have? Does that have something to do with time travel? Is that why they know all the symbols? Like is there time travel somewhere included in there? Sort of, my brain just
entered maybe the writers were like, "Hey, let's just have all the cool main characters join up in a circle to do a ritual."
I guess there is that fact, but the fact is that you know that circle, that thing, that's been there for a while. You know, That's
Yeah,
been there since the start. So it was probably planned,
yeah.
right? The whole overarching story. But sort of the finale thing was like, okay, we tried to defeat him this way. Didn't we tried to defeat him with a big gun? Didn't work. Then some ritual that didn't work. So the final thing to do was this.
Hmm.
That's what I feel like I've seen that structure quite a lot of the time,
Yeah.
sort
I mean,
of.
Avatar's a bit different. I can only think of like two
Because
methods.
Avatar had multiple things, multiple fights going on, didn't it, as
Yeah,
well?
but things with Avatar, they
You
had
think about it.
multiple attempts. Like the first one was like it happened halfway through the last season was the Battle of the Black Sun or whatever it was during the eclipse, and they were like they had this plan to win, but the Fire Nation also had a plan, and they set up a trap basically. And Fire Lord Ozai was just somewhere else. So that was like halfway through, and then they had another attempt, and this time the stakes were higher because it was Sozin's comet, and the Fire Nation was gonna destroy everything. You kind of see that a lot with I'd say Star Wars. Um, with the destruction of like the Death Star and stuff, the stakes are really high, and you've only got one chance. You've exhausted all your previous chances, and now this is the last time you can try and win. If you don't win,
Yeah,
wow, you're gone, basically.
pretty much. Uh,
Anyway, I think we should
I
move
do
on soon.
like what
Yeah,
happened there. It's
yeah,
kind of like the reason it's even better how they defeated it is because it's where Stan and Ford reconciled. Like the
yes,
thing that brought them
yes,
back together were the kids.
and yeah, it was the majority of the final arc was Stan and Ford disagreeing and fighting, and they finally won when they actually worked together.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice message there. Don't break up with your family. Like you need to be close with your siblings. I guess is the
Will cost you
message.
your life.
Yes. Anyway, we need to move on to the song of the week. And
I really want to discuss the final scene, but okay.
um, I want to.
But yeah,
I've written down this song from Fast and Furious 7,
yeah.
a movie which I've never seen, but there's the
I've never
song's
seen
really
either.
popular. Is "See You Again." Um, but also I do want to bring up another song, which is "Fireflies" by Owl City.
Okay.
These two songs were like I'd say really big when I was in year six. I'd
Yeah,
say.
probably.
And
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I've been listening to them again like now recently. And I'm having this big wave of nostalgia. Like I seem to be feeling really nostalgic. Maybe because of Gravity Falls, maybe because of the music I'm listening to. But yeah, I do want to talk about music in the early 2010s when we were younger. What do you think about the music back then compared to now?
To be honest, I didn't really start listening to like actual music till I was in like year eight.
Yeah,
I
but
lit I listened more to like
hmm,
cartoon themes and such, but
I'd say the music that we listen to now, like Imagine Dragons and stuff, is I'd say from 2015, 2016.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So, when I was in year six, that was like 2015. So it was only like 5 years ago. Um,
yeah.
but yeah. So like the genre of music I'd say is very similar in terms of like the pop music that when we were in year six is the sort of stuff we listen to now. Like I don't listen to modern pop. I just don't like modern pop anymore.
Yeah, I understand.
In terms of like 2020 pop, it's got lots of rap, and rap isn't necessarily bad, but I don't like it for some reason.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I much
But like,
prefer yeah. So yeah, when I was in year six, this was like the sort of songs that I listened to. I remember, um, so in year six, there's this like SATs test which you do, but then after that, it's very chill because like, what's the point of learning if there's no exam? So after the exam, it's very chill. Yeah, we'd have the music like playing on during class. What was the sort of stuff that you did like after the SATs in your primary
we
school?
had activities week.
Yeah,
We had our play.
yeah, oh yeah, play was fun. I had a play.
Sort of what I remember really.
Yeah, like I'd say the majority of school time was just mainly preparing for the play. Um, and I didn't have an activities week, but we did have a trip to Harry Potter Studios, which was like very fun. Um,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. So yeah, music sort of not a thing I was really into for back then, really.
Thing is, I wasn't into it, like really
Y-
into it.
You,
I just heard it.
yeah,
Um, and maybe the only time I listened to music was when it was playing or someone else was playing it,
yeah.
or during like primary school discos that we had, like at the end
You
of every
only ever
term.
had one.
We had like one
Yeah.
like every Christmas and every summer.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And it was just like it started at 5, ended at 7. You just go to the school hall and like dance, I guess.
Dance,
But
boogie.
we didn't. No one dances at that age. It's more like let's play tag. You're it in whilst there's
Yeah.
music being played, and yeah. So there was the music that was playing, and then I've been listening to it now, and it just brings me back to that time. And yeah, it
Yeah.
just brings me back to my to like primary school, and it makes
Yeah.
me like wonder that I'm growing up so fast. And
Do you know a weird thing about me,
yeah,
right? Is sometimes I remember I'm only 16.
you know,
I'm not older than 16.
yeah.
I am a youngin.
But I kind of have the opposite. I'm like, wait, I'm already 16. I whenever I have this like feeling of nostalgia, it's normally coupled with the feeling of growing up too fast and I'm gonna miss my childhood and
Right.
like the next time you realize you're a 40-year-old man being an adult
Yeah,
and
like
you suddenly
for
like
me,
miss everything.
yeah. For me, it's like it's not that I think I'm old. Yeah, maybe it's not that like I there are a lot of people younger than me that I know. It, like maybe it's because like we're sort of on the edge between where like a different like it's all one generation, but sort of the gap between the generations
Yeah,
sort of
like between the
happens.
millennials and whoever's below us.
Between the first Gen Zs and the later Gen
Yeah.
Zs, we're sort of the ones in the middle. Well, not the middle, but we're at the start, but we're sort of going into the middle of it, right?
Mhm.
That I guess sometimes I just feel like, oh yeah, I'm only 16. I'm not older. I am young,
Yeah.
sort of
Yeah.
stuff.
But yeah,
Yeah,
I just wanted to talk about how like I kind of don't want to. I mean, we're gonna. It's inevitable that growing up is inevitable, but I just want to hang on to these like precious moments like right now because they're gonna go away. Um, you're not like at some point you're not gonna have these really long fun summers. At some point you're not gonna. So at some point you're gonna have to start like paying taxes and being responsible for yourself, and it's just
yeah,
like this like dread of growing up, I'd say, because growing up has its advantages, but you're also leaving behind stuff, and it's getting over that basically for me.
yeah.
So yeah, um, that's growing up, and yes, you
Yes,
want to move
yeah.
on, because we're
Yeah.
we're coming up to 50 minutes now, so we're gonna
Yeah.
wrap up the podcast with the question of the day, and the question is, what is the best imposter strategy in Among Us? What would you say is the best
I have
strategy?
not played Among Us for a while. You played just yesterday.
Yeah.
Um, I haven't played in a while, but it's sort of I can't remember what I really did in terms of imposter strategies. I guess the best thing is that staying quiet can work during discussions, right?
It can work, but sometimes
Or
it can backfire, and
yeah,
people are like, "Hey,
I
you're really
yeah.
quiet. You're sus."
Especially if you're playing with me, I'll go like, hang on a minute, why are you so quiet there?
Yeah.
But like something I've seen a lot of people do. Do you know like when there's only like three people left and you're the
Mhm.
last imposter, right? Is where you frame someone.
Yeah.
You kill them, you report the body, and you try and convince the other person that this person killed them and not you.
You know, that situation is like very frustrating because sometimes the like crewmates side have really good arguments against you, and
Yeah.
Or sometimes you're a crewmate and you've got a really good argument against the imposter, but the imposter has like a really good. Maybe the imposter has an alibi,
Oh, sorry there.
and you're just trying and begging the other guy to vote out the imposter, but they won't. They've
Yeah.
already made up their mind. Maybe because the imposter has an
I
alibi.
guess some things that some imposters would do when you're a duo, right, is just try and get those double kills to
Yeah.
whittle down their numbers,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I don't see many imposters sticking together a lot of the time. Do you know, like, sometimes I've seen people like hang out in electrical even if they don't have a task just to catch out the killer.
Or like prevent
sometimes,
a killing,
yeah.
'Cause,
Like,
yeah.
there's also the stacking thing. Ooh, stack kills. I've seen stack kills a lot recently in videos.
Yeah, I think stat kills only works if maybe
Like,
you
so
haven't
often,
killed many people and there's still lots
yeah.
of people left.
I'd
you're
say
getting a
it's
bit
also
desperate.
I'd say when there's like 6 or 5 people, and you always stack kill at lights because then nobody can really tell
Yeah.
you did it. And like
Yeah.
you have to make sure you get the kill before lights come on.
Yeah. Or yeah, basically. I find myself doing detective work much more. Sometimes I don't do tasks as much as I should be, and I try to hang out on the cameras. No. And that's why I feel like I shouldn't do it as much.
I also heard this like in one video months ago, which I always love saying, like, you know what? I don't mind if I'm a ghost, because that at least that means I can do my tasks easier and faster.
Yeah. And yeah.
I'm
Anyway,
never serious
I was
about
gonna
that,
say,
really,
like,
but yeah.
I find myself hanging out at cams, and
Oh,
probably the only reason why I would do tasks is to prove my innocence. Like,
yeah,
there
I
are certain
suppose.
tasks which prove your innocence, like med base scan is the obvious one, or like
Oh,
you
but the
could
thing
just
is,
watch people do
sometimes,
tasks and see if the taskbar
yeah,
goes up. That's another.
yeah. That's something you would do when visual tasks are off
Yeah.
as well. But the thing is, a lot of mistakes that people make is with wires, because I'm pretty sure wires only goes up after all 3 are complete.
I
So
don't
it
know.
only the taskbar only goes up when tasks are complete, and wires aren't complete till all 3 are done. So somebody will see somebody walk away from wires, and they say, "Oh, the taskbar didn't go up," but that's because that was maybe their second wire, detectives and such.
I want to bring up this one Among Us game that I had back in September, so like last month as of recording. It was during a physics lesson where the teacher never turned up.
I never asked you about those games because I was like, no.
So yeah, the thing is, we don't get cover teachers anymore.
But we get set work.
So we just had a lesson with no teacher, and yeah, half the class made an Among Us game, and yeah.
What made it significant?
I'm trying to think. I mean, apart from
Or is it literally the setting in which it happened?
I think it's literally just the setting and the circumstances that made this game a bit like memorable.
I guess some things I always remember is like where I'm just like, it's always that feeling when you're an imposter, when you do something, you've done something bad, and you're like, oh boy.
Like one of Dan TDM's mistakes on his video where he didn't mute himself. And he started talking, and he was like, I need to kill this guy, forgetting to mute himself. Anyway, that's pretty much all we have time for in today's episode. Hopefully you enjoyed talking about growing up and Gravity Falls and stuff like that.
I think in terms of the final scene, which we didn't get to discuss today, maybe after you finish watching Star, we can discuss both final scenes.
We can talk about I guess finales in general.
Yeah, because of course Avatar also had quite a nice scene, but like just the 3 shows that we've seen this year, those final scenes, we'll see what we can talk about.
Yeah,
those
but yeah,
in another episode.
So
these episodes come out every 2 weeks.
If you want to listen to this episode, make sure you're subscribed and you're following so you don't miss it. And yeah, we'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.
Bye.